What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and good afternoon to you all. Finally, I'm sitting down, um, at home, uh, basically recording the TCG's new Forbidden Limited list. It goes into effect February 13th of 2023. So yeah, out with the old and in with the new is basically what Konami is saying with this Forbidden Limited list. And there are, of course, a lot of major changes to the list. As we all know, the competitive scene has definitely took a massive hit with this list. But also some indirect hits have also been hit. And the occasional things that I will eventually talk about when it comes to the Forbidden Limited list. So why don't we go ahead and we take a look. Starting off with the Forbidden section, we have Artifact Scythe. Barrier Statue of the Storm Winds. Tier elements Kit Kalos and Sprite Elf. All joining the Forbidden section of the list. Then from there we have the limited section. All of the Shizu's monsters that have their upgrades have been hit. Ajido, the Ancient Sentinel. Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard. Keldo, the Sacred Protector, and Medora, the Sword Oracle, have all been limited to one. In tier elements, you are also in addition to this list as well. For tier elements, Havness, Muriel, and Sich Rin have all been hit as well. And joining us back from the Forbidden Limited list is the Ancient Fairy Dragon. Yeah, Ancient Fairy Dragon is back. For those who don't know, Ancient Fairy Dragon has had her errata, where both her effects are hard once per turn. So you can't spam multiple Ancient Fairy Dragons effects. So sooner or later, she's probably going to go back to 30. Then in addition to that, we have the Unlimited section where we have Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Forson, Jet Synchron, Mecha Phantom Beast, O-Lion, Servant of Endymion, oh, excuse me, True King, Lasmos Graham, I'm sorry, Lasmos Gym, The Disaster, Yatagarasu, and Spiral Resort, all going to 3. So why don't we go ahead and we knock out the Forbidden section? So, I think probably we'll start off with two of the big hits for those who aren't in the competitive scene. Well, actually, all four of these are in the competitive scene, but if you were to say from top to bottom, Tier Element, Sprite, Barrier Statue, Artifact. And I'm literally saying that because of what I've seen and what I basically have been seeing is that um, the tier elements, as we all know, that we're going to eventually get hit with a big hit in the TCG sooner or later. And actually, funny enough, this mimics exactly what the OCG's version of the tier element hits were, because tier elements is basically topping every event right now. There are so many different variations of this deck, and this deck is just it's it is a force to be reckoned with. There's a reason why it is considered another tier one, tier zero type of deck, because it's everywhere in the meta. It's every deck that has basically topped or has a top victory. And it's just it is yeah, this deck causes problems, and Konami TCG has finally hit the band hammer on it. If you guys don't really know too much of the tier elementals, um think of an advanced version of what Lifeform did, and then add fusion monsters to it that also survives a lot of the gimmicks that were basically mill and then do things on the mill, and then on your opponent's turn you can do the milling, and then you can do effects to fusion summon monsters in a similar way that Shaddolls would fusion summon monsters, and then all these shenanigans continue to happen to where your opponent is locked out of things. There's a lot of negation on the board, and there's really not much you can do to interact with that unless you had something to massively negate the board, both which 9 out of 10 would probably be negated because most of the tier elemental in boards had a lot of stuff to deal with those issues. And that's pretty much why a lot of them have now been hit to 1. In terms of like the monsters that are surviving, but in terms of the one fusion monster, yeah, she may not be the boss fusion monster, but she was more so of this is the thing that is associating with the problem, and we need to hit the problem as soon as we possibly can. Which is funny because in OCG, this is kind of similar to what they did, and the deck is still thriving. So, do we believe that there could be a potential hit for Tier Elemental stuff next format? For OCG and TCG, yeah, like do expect, because I don't think the deck is going to be completely dead. But at this point, they've neutered it to where it's going to just fill in those spots with a lot of the new stuff. Because the Kitar, the Kitarsh archetype, those big cyber dragon esque monsters. Yeah, they're probably just going to fill in the void for them, and especially now since TCG is getting the set, which will be legal at the end of this week, and I think will be tournament legal the next week, which is funny enough because that's the week where I believe YCS Vegas is supposed to be happening. The what is it? It's the 3v3 YCS is happening next weekend. So yeah, this is all in the span of this, and I'm sure players are going to now be testing their decks to fit into that. Sprite, as we all know, Sprite took one hit last banlist, and now they're taking another one by losing Elf. Elf was a big core generator to a lot of things, even though they lost, I guess, substantially. When the Frog engine went meh, the Sprite engine said, okay, well, we still got a lot of the other key pieces that work well with the deck. So let's just keep the level 2 engines going, but definitely benefit from Sprite, because I believe Sprite didn't have too much of a limitation. Sprite just kept things going. So that was eventually something that they said, yeah, we know this is it, but we're gonna try to break it as much as possible before it gets hit. Barrier statue of the Stormwind, and everyone knows I'm very saddened about this because I would have traded Stormwind in for some more. The problem is that Floowanderees can still make some more. They can't make it on the turn they do all their shenanigans, but they can do it on the resolving turn. And because of that, that is part of the reason why they have to hit the barrier statue, but can bring back some more. Which is funny because OCG has some more, but they banned the barrier statue. And it sucks now because if you're a deck outside of the decks that were potentially going to use barrier statue of Stormwind, like in terms of the meta game, there was literally only like two options you had. You either played Floowanderees, which is basically the birds. And then if you didn't, you were playing Bird Up, which did recover most of its pieces, or you were playing the Katarsh archetype, which was using their big level 7 monsters to go into, what is it? I believe it was Raid Raptor Arsenal Falcon. And then you started building into your barrier statue, because the last thing you would do is summon the barrier statue. And because I think not all of them are wind, or I think majority of them are wind, you're not gonna hurt yourself for doing too many things. You just tried to finish where Appaloosa was on the board with the barrier statue, and then a couple other things before the statue hit the board, and that way you didn't have to worry too much about your opponent trying to do anything, because they can't special summon, they can't. You have something to negate, and I think there's also a couple of more Omni negates on the board as well. But because of how that generates so much stuff, the barrier statue unfortunately have to take the hit. Um, no one spam my comments trying to tell me about the barrier statue of the Stormwind issue and how and what we and all that, because look, I don't have an idea right now about what we can do without barrier statue of Stormwind. So at this point, we're gonna need some time to get things together. Because damn, that's a slaughter too that's out in a very big situation of things that has to be worked out. Artifact Scythe. And why I put this at the bottom of the list was because um, the Scythe combo thing kind of died itself out. There is still one little thing. Towards the end of this month, we're going to have the release of the Trap Trick. And their structure deck, Force of the Trap Trick. Excuse me. And you gotta also remember, Trap Trick. You have easy ways to summon the artifact monsters, because remember, Hat was a thing, and there's been word that Advanced Hat is going to be doing some shenanigans. Well, at that point, it would just be artifacts and Trap Trick, and you could easily find ways to sit on the artifacts link monster, pop the back row through an effect to summon the scythe, and then your opponent is locked out of their extra deck. I think it was probably one of the hits that definitely did need to happen, so that way shenanigans wouldn't happen later on. And a lot of people will probably just try to justify the artifact side thing. I mean, look, it's already happened. There's nothing we can do. Like even at a point, and I would have considered playing artifact side, but my deck doesn't generate a way to summon a lot of those things. So yeah, yeah, that is basically it all for Forbidden. The I mean, what can I say about the limited section? Is that all of these cards hit because legitimately they were part of Tier Element. Like Ashizu's deck, Ashizu's monsters finally had a reason to be known as the archetype that had one format and did all this madness and did well. So, you look at how everything presides, and it's just like, yeah, this was bound to happen. And they hit a lot more than the OCG did, because I think the OCG only hit maybe two cards, two or three of the monsters. They hit the whole shebang. They hit all four. They hit Medora, Keldo, Kelbeck, and Ajido. Yeah, they did not spare on them. And then for immediate support, they hit all the tier element monsters that also did things in the deck too. So I think one is a searcher, the other one is a negation, and the other one is a summoner. So yeah, that had to be hit real fast. Ancient Fairy Dragon. Yes, all five Signer Dragons are now in play in the card game. The reason Ancient Fairy Dragon is now unbanned is most likely because of her errata, which, given it some time, aren't we supposed to, we're supposed to be getting a special set coming out soon. So do expect there to be a reprint of Ancient Fairy Dragon, and she'll probably be at the highest rarity she could be. And 9 out of 10, she's going to have the problem solving text, which is basically you only use each effect of the Ancient Fairy Dragon once per turn and only once that turn. Um, so if you don't know what Ancient Fairy Dragon's effects were, her first effect is that you can summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand, but you cannot get that battle phase until you activate this effect. And the other effect is you can destroy one spell or trap. You can destroy one card in the field spell zone, then search your deck for a field spell, and add it to your hand. I think the changes now to it is that you only use each of the following effects of Ancient Fairy Dragon once per turn each. And the summon effect is still the same. You can summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand, but you can't connect the battle phase the turn you summon it. And then I believe the other effect is that you can destroy one field spell on the field, but you have to add a field spell from your deck to your hand that's different from the one that you destroyed with this card's effect. So it's basically to neuter what Ancient Fairy Dragon did. I mean, because that's the reason why Ancient Fairy Dragon was banned, was because there were a lot of decks that abused a lot of field spells, and Ancient Fairy Dragon was there to make up for it. Look at early Dragon Ruler, look at post Dragon Ruler, look at Rocket, because Rocket played Ancient Fairy. Some dinosaur decks played Ancient Fairy as well, because there was the diagram, and then you would go and get a monster, or you would go get another diagram, and then trigger that diagram. And for those who don't know, that's the True King's diagram. You would pop it and then go get another one, and then you do shenanigans there with Dinosaur, because Dinosaur was able to do that. And then there's like a whole bunch of other field spell oriented decks that did a lot of shenanigans with Ancient Fairy Dragon. So for that now to be the thing is basically, yeah, you can have the Ancient Fairy Dragon deck, but we're gonna neuter her completely. Um, moving over to the unlimited section. Um, none of these are a shock because the first half of it is nothing but tuners, and there's no more Harpie Fibrites, which we all saw that coming. We knew that once Harpie gets banned, all the tuners are gonna start returning. Servant of Endymion. I actually did not. I forgot this card was limited. But for those who don't know, Servant of Endymion was really good with the Pendulum S Magician decks, the ones that use spell counters and stuff. Yeah. She was hit to one because there was a lot of brokenness going on with that deck. I guess they said, well, deck's not as strong as it is, because I think they hit other positions of things that were going on at the time too. True King Latmos. Latogram? I like the gym. I'm sorry, like the gym. The disaster. That's actually going to be really good with Dinosaur, considering all the new Dinosaur stuff coming. I'm actually both them and him and the fire one, the True King Fire Monster. You're gonna have a lot of fun, especially because the next video after this I'm going to be doing is taking a look at Transcended Drake, Transcend Drake, and the new cards, the cards and stuff that are coming out of them. Because, oh boy, Dinosaur just got a major upgrade, and oh my god, it's ridiculous how good that stuff is. Yada Garasu, we saw that coming because Yada is completely useless in the game right now, and there's really not much Yada can do. And Inspire Resort, that's basically just say, hey, you can't have your boss monster, and you can't have that really broken bounce, so here comes your field spell. Good luck with that. Yeah, so my whole thing with this is that I meta got hit, which we expected. Um Indirectly I lost the barrier set to the Stormwind and I didn't get some work back. So I'll live. Let me know in the comment section what you guys feel about the Forbidden Limited list for the TCG and what things do you hope to see come out of this. I mean, and none of that whole feeling it with the gays and woos of this and that got hit. No, like actually use some common sense and be mindful of the comment section. Um, in that case, like actually have a fucking brain and use it. So yeah. With that said, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys know when I upload more content. Support me on social media. The social media links are in the description box below, and also take a chance to go look at the archive channel because archive stuff is up. When I get the chance, I don't know when I'll be returning to live streaming, but I will have that for a separate video or a separate update. But thank you guys for holding out for so long because I know it's been a while since I've done it. And with that said and done, if you guys do ever get the chance, hit me, go check out my Twitch page and give me some follows. I really appreciate it. And with that said and done, thanks everybody for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.